It's a triple dose of news here on Falcons Today. Welcome in, Falcons fans, to Falcons Today by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. We have to talk about 3 bits of news during this kind of low period in the NFL offseason, the early days of the offseason. Now, this first bit is actually not that small. It's actually quite significant for the Cleveland Browns, poaching one of our beloved coaches. Mike Rutenberg, our defensive pass game coordinator, is becoming the Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator, a high-energy assistant to Jeff Ulbrich, so now goes from Atlanta to Cleveland, where Kevin Stefanski came from Cleveland to Atlanta in some sort of weird coaching love triangle. Here's what you need to know. The Falcons lost a coach to the Cleveland Browns. Now, Rutenberg is one of those defensive assistants that has definitely earned this right, so I'm happy for him and his career as it progresses. But I'm also kind of sad because this was somebody that definitely helped a lot in the Falcons' defensive secondary and pass game coordination on the defensive side of the ball. Now, before we continue on with the details of this story, make sure that you stay locked in and hit that subscribe button for the very latest and greatest in the offseason. A very important day is coming up, March 9th, the legal tampering period, which we will be live for, by the way. And then we'll also be live for free agency through the 11th and the 13th. And like I said, make sure you grow the 51,000 strong here on the channel. So the new defensive coordinator, Mike Rutenberg, who has served under Jeff Ulbrich pretty faithfully throughout his entire coaching tenure. He has kind of followed Jeff Ulbrich around with the Jets. He was with the Jaguars for a little while and then came to Atlanta under Jeff Ulbrich last year. The Falcoholic did a really good job of kind of surmising exactly what Rutenberg's roles have been in his time with Jeff Ulbrich. He said Rutenberg was a key piece, or they said, was a key piece of Ulbrich's staff and had spent each of the past 5 seasons working with him, both as a linebackers coach with the Jets in 2021 to 2024, while Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator and in Atlanta. Rutenberg helped put together some pass game plans that stymied opposing passing attacks, especially early in the season, and worked with greatly improved secondary pieces in 2025 for the Dirty Birds. His resume is actually pretty good. Spent some time with the Jaguars as their assistant linebackers coach, and then went to the 49ers as their passing game specialist, then followed Jeff Ulbrich to the Jets linebackers coach, and then became the Falcons defensive pass game coordinator, and now is getting his shot to be a big-time coordinator with the Cleveland Browns. Actually get to call the plays and set up defensive schemes here. I want to be completely honest with you. This isn't like the most deleterious thing for the Atlanta Falcons, but I would have liked to have kept Rutenberg. I thought he made a really nice addition to the team. Clearly helped revamp the shape and the foundation of this team, which went from all offense to no defense to really great defense and kind of sputtering offense under Zach Robinson. Ulbrich also had some really high praise for him, calling him a PhD-level teacher, which is an insane way to describe an assistant, but if he really means it, then we're talking about someone who is going to be a legitimate defensive coordinator and maybe even higher than that as the years go on. So, again, really happy for Rutenberg, but it always hurts a little bit, that little sting that happens when you lose a really good assistant. Now, he does run a very similar system to what Jeff Ulbrich likes to run, albeit with more cover one. In fact, the Falcons ran cover one 17% of the time, which was actually kind of low for what the Jeff Ulbrich system usually is, because in 2024 they ran it 7th most, and in 2023 ran it 5th most in the NFL. So you can expect Rutenberg to take a lot of these concepts. I expect them to be top 15 in cover one, maybe close to 20% ran in their defensive schemes and their packaging. I'm not going to ask you what the hire feels like for the Browns, because this is not a Browns channel. This is the Falcons channel. So I'll ask you a Falcons-related question. What is our biggest need on defense? It's still a nose tackle for me, but you can get down in the comment section down below and at least let me know what your answer would be. Coming up next, more of Falcons news, 2 extra minor stories that we want to touch on. They're not huge stories. I just want to kind of get that out of the way while we're talking about it. But I'll tell you what is huge, this unbelievable sponsor that we've got here on the channel, and that is Mars Men. I turned 30 years old tomorrow. Saying it out loud just sounds crazy. Did you know that when you turn 30 years old, most men start losing testosterone at about 1% every single year after they turn 30? So if you want to take care of your body the natural way, unlock usable testosterone, you got to do it with Mars Men. It supports healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. With 8 natural clinically dosed ingredients, including vitamin D, zinc, boron, and more. It is made in the United States and third-party tested. You get a 90-day money-back guarantee. That's unbelievable. So there is no risk. Worst case scenario, you don't love it, you get your money back. But over 91% of men report higher energy levels. So you got to do yourself a favor. For a limited time, our listeners get 50% off for life, plus free shipping and 3 free gifts at mengotomars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's mengotomars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts when you check out. After you purchase, they're going to say, hey, where'd you hear about us? Please support our show and let them know that Moose from Falcons Today sent you. The next most reasonable question that all Falcons fans are going to have is, okay, well, if we lose Rutenberg, who do we replace him with? Well, it's pretty much overwhelmingly assumed it's going to be Justin Hood, and that's because he was interviewing, or was scheduled to interview, with the San Francisco 49ers, and the Falcons blocked it. They did not want him leaving the Falcons at all. And here's what the Falcoholic had to say about that whole scenario. Ulbrich was clearly bracing to lose Rutenberg, and the Falcons previously blocked secondaries coach Justin Hood from interviewing with the 49ers, and I'd have to think that he's the strongest in-house candidate for the role. The team's pass defense ranked 13th in yardage allowed despite injuries to key players like Mike Hughes, Billy Bowman Jr., and, of course, Divine Deablo. Blocking an interview for a secondaries coach is pretty ridiculous, and in a good way, not a bad way, if you think about it out loud, because how often do you see a player's coach, an assistant like this, a secondaries coach, get an interview blocked? They clearly did not want him to leave the organization or even get the chance to think about leaving the organization. So clearly Jeff Ulbrich was kind of assuming that this was going to happen, and he was like, I'm not taking any chances. I am not going to lose Justin Hood. So I'm glad to see that we were proactive in that approach in keeping good coaches in-house for the Dirty Birds. The last bit of news, even smaller than that, the Falcons have waived Emory Jones, and this might sound like nothing. Slow news day, Moose. Yeah, well, it kind of is, considering we are at February 17th and still no news about Kyle Pitts getting the franchise tagged. One thing I will say about Emory Jones is I liked him in the preseason. I thought he was fun to watch. If you remember, he had a really nasty concussion in that last game against the Cowboys, I believe it was. And, he wasn't a candidate to make the 53, at least in my opinion, but now we're kind of looking here. You don't have to go to that real quick. I'll just read it off this screen here because that's incorrect. Kirk Cousins ended the year at QB1, followed by Easton Stick because Michael Penix ended up as QB3. But if you look at the Falcons' quarterback depth chart, it's really, really slim pickings now. It's Michael Penix Jr., Easton Stick, and no one else. So the Falcons are going to be adding a quarterback. Whether that would be in the very slim case that Kirk Cousins decides to re-sign in a much cheaper deal, which I don't think is going to happen. I still have no idea what Stefanski's plan is at the quarterback position. I really don't. You could make the argument that he'll probably want to go out and get a veteran to back up Michael Penix Jr. for this year, and that's probably the most reasonable take out of all this, but they could go big. They could put all their trust in Penix. They could draft someone. I have no idea. Who knows? Who knows what Ian Cunningham wants to do? There are only really 3, though, different quarterback plans that you could explore. The first one, and probably the most obvious and likely out of all of these, is that you go all in on Penix for this year and you sign a vet free agent, whether that's Flacco, whether that is I mean, I don't even know the other guys in the Russell Wilson, but maybe Jameis Winston is a guy that you could go after. All I know is you'll probably go all in on Penix at this point in the offseason. The second one, and probably a little less likely in my opinion, probably the least likely, is that you draft a young quarterback to develop in the Kevin Stefanski system. I don't see this being a thing considering how weak the quarterback class is in the draft this year, so this probably feels like the least likely. And then probably the most likely outside of this one, so it would go 1, 3, and then 2, would be that you trade for a young quarterback like Tyson Bagent sitting on the Chicago Bears bench, and hopefully there's a quarterback battle at some point throughout preseason and into training camp. Fox, though, predicted that the Falcons would go after 4 major free agents, signing Flacco, signing David Njoku, signing Greg Newsome, and, of course, John Franklin Myers, but the quarterback position up there being probably the most important out of all of these. Flacco being the guy that there's a lot of people, Falcons fans are split on him. Most of you don't want him, and I get why, because let's be honest, if we're bringing in Joe Flacco to compete, that's probably a pretty bad sign. But all of this is coming to a head, my friends. We are this close to free agency. What is today? The 17th, so 20 days away from the legal tampering period starting up, and then 22 days away from the official start of the new league year on the 11th. You got a lot of stuff coming up. It's just going to be a little bit patient, a little bit relaxed right now. February is kind of a weird month because we're not so far released and away from the 2025 season or the previous season, but we still feel very far away from talking about anything significant. And if you're ready for a crazy offseason, you got to do me a huge favor. Hit that thumbs up icon. Let me know that you made it to the end of the video. And do me a favor, type me down in the comment section if you did make it to the very end. Lets me know where the real ones are at. That's all I got for you on today's episode, Falcons fans. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and rumors. We're going to be live tomorrow as well on the channel, so make sure that you pull up. As always, rise up and be cool.